Hello, scholars, and welcome back. It's already week 6 of POL 450, Research Methods for Political Science. I've been very pleased with the progress that we're making in this course, and I hopefully that you are as well. As it appears, as the weeks go by, the pieces have started to come together, and for many of you, your research studies are coming together quite well. What started with just a concept of possible topics was then converted into a research question. We then created a purpose statement and a problem statement behind our research question. And most recently, we've created surveys and a population that we'll use to answer our questions and to give insight towards your questions. This week, we look at content analysis and secondary data and those topics on how we can explore and utilize existing data to our benefit for each one of our studies. And we have our annotated bibliography that's due, the big ticket item this week. So let's go through each one of these and break it down. If we look at our agenda this week, we have a video and lecture on content analysis and secondary data. We have a written assignment 6, which is secondary data analysis. We have an application exercise 6 on content analysis. We have our annotated bibliography due and our week 6 discussion board. As you've noted, there's no reading assignment this week. It's because content analysis and secondary data isn't explained in our textbook, so we're going to focus on it based upon our lectures videos this week. In our lecture video this week, there are 2 videos that I ask you to watch. These will give you the information necessary on content analysis and the steps that we need to get secondary data and how to analyze secondary data. You know, secondary data is nothing more than existing data that we're going to use. And for many of our studies, it's going to be necessary to start at that broad scale. Even if you were just comparing your study to, let's just use something as basic as men versus women, and maybe their likelihood to do something, you would want to know how many men and women there actually are. That's where we could get secondary data. If your question revolves around something of the residents of Rancho Cucamonga, as an example, you would want to know how many residents there are in Rancho Cucamonga. Some of you have done studies that based upon age groups. You'll want to know how many people are in each one of the age groups. And for many of us, census data, county data that's recorded and available, that is where we'll find most of this information, and we call that secondary data. So for your written assignment this week, you are asked to look up secondary data. So 2 important and reliable sources of secondary data, the RAND State Statistics and the Statistical Abstract of the U.S. are available in the Annie Gabriel Library. I have included a description of what is included in each data set below. Your assignment for the week is to review each of the data repositories and select a data set that you think would provide important and relevant secondary data for your study. Discuss what you found and state why it is important to your topic. You should add the source to your annotated bibliography before it is submitted. So then there's a quick description about the RAD state statistics and the statistical abstract of the U.S. So what I'm asking you to do is to review both of these. First of all, you need to have an idea of what type of secondary data that you would be interested in. Then you'll find that data in one of these 2 sets, and then to explain to me what is the connection between this secondary data set that you want to use and why it would be important and why you will use it to an extent in your study. You know, for many of you, I asked for you to add demographics to your study, or I explained in the last video how you need to add demographics. Those are what we call descriptive statistics. It's describing the people that have taken your surveys. Also, this kind of coincides with that. These will describe the population. This will describe the sample size that you're going for based upon the secondary data. So you can understand the importance of utilizing this data. And this data is available. So it's much easier to obtain. It's much easier to analyze. It's much easier to absorb than, say, our survey data, where we have to actually look and create and find the data, do the sampling, send out the surveys, do the interviews. So you can see how this secondary data we can use to our benefit, because especially in our day and age, it is so very readily available and so easily for us to not only obtain it, but also analyze it. As always, Sunday by 11:59, 25 points. Hit all the required components, 15, 10 more additional points for college level writing. A very interesting, I believe, video that I've added on just how we can use secondary data and how we can present it, especially in a world that we live in right now, especially with all the COVID facts and COVID data and COVID numbers that we thrown around, and tiers and positivity rates and how many per 100,000 are infected and positivity. You can see how in this, how with numbers in themselves are important, but being able to present data is so much more important, especially presented in a way that's digestible. And I think you'll enjoy this video. Our next deliverable that we have this week is an application exercise. This is a short quiz on content analysis. It will be strictly based upon that PowerPoint video that is included. So ensure you watch that PowerPoint video and then take this quiz. There's no time limit on this quiz, but it must be completed in one setting, and you may repeat the quiz again for a higher score if you wish. And then the big ticket item we have this week is our annotated bibliography. Please submit your annotated bibliography for submissions with a minimum of 15. Let's make that clear, 15 items that address the topic theory of your research proposal. The assignment is worth a possible 100 points. As you look down, you will see your breakdown, the source credibility, the annotation, the mechanics, and formatting. So to first start with, like any annotated bibliography, it's going to start with the APA citation. The APA citations, the 15 of them, should be in alphabetical order for an annotated bibliography. So it's going to start with the citation, and then there will be a short paragraph with each one of the citations to explain why this citation is relevant to your study and how it applies. And that is it. So you're going to, hopefully this entire time, anytime that you have found a source, you've noted it, you bookmarked it, you saved it, you put it on a document of some sort. You're going to have that APA citation, make sure it's cited appropriately and properly per APA formatting standards. And then a simple 3-4 sentences, a paragraph afterwards of what the source is about and how it applies to your study. And then we need 15 of those. Once again, Sunday by 11:59, and just remember we need a minimum of 15 sources and your grading rubric. Before I forget, or maybe I should have said this before I switch to our next assignment, in our learning, in our home section, I provided you a example of a prospectus. In that example, there is the chapter 2, which is the annotated bibliography, which included in it is the annotated bibliography, the entire chapter 2, which gives you a clear example of what the expectations are when it comes to writing and this portion of it. Now, like I've told you very many times throughout this course, this assignment this week, the annotated bibliography, is chapter 2. Once you complete this, and if you complete it correctly, and there's no revisions necessary, then you are done with chapter 2. Literally, all you're going to need to do is cut and paste this annotated bibliography, put a title of that it's chapter 2, and include it in your annotated bibliography or into your prospectus. It's that simple. So put the work in this week, make it nice and clear and formatted correctly. Give me at least 2, 3, 4 sentences after each one that it clearly explains what it's about and why it's relevant to your study, and you are done with a third of your prospectus, all in one setting. So that's the beauty of this week. And then finally, we have our week 6 discussion board. Uh, what was the most interesting information in the Hans Rosling video? Did his presentation keep your interest? Was it understandable? Describe your post in 300 words or less, and then 2 additional replies to your fellow classmates. Um, that's that secondary data presentation. And I feel that this could not be more timely than right now. I'll say it again, especially in a day and age where data and numbers are driving our entire society, especially when it comes to COVID. How we can benefit from being able to present data in a digestible fashion, especially with whatever we're trying to get across, whether it is the reopening, the positive numbers, or the negative side of the numbers, where we are trying to emphasize the importance of maybe masking, the importance of social isolation, the importance of getting vaccinated. Or if that is the topic you want to push, how you can present data in a manageable way, in a digestible way, and in a way in which people are going to absorb it and actually react to the data. So keep those topics in mind when you're writing on your discussion board this week. So there you have it. That is our week 6. It's a heavy week, especially with that annotated bibliography. A lot of work, but just understand that if you put the work in this week, you're going to pay the dividends in week 8 when you're putting together your critical assignment. And you should have a sense of accomplishment this week, knowing that you have, with completing your annotated bibliography, you have already completed 1/3 of your prospectus. That's not including or not even counting all the pieces that you've already accomplished and have already created. So we're looking really good. Once again, if you have any questions at all with any of the portions or the prospectus in general, I always stress that you need to take a look at that example and the video that I have included. It should answer all of your questions. If you haven't looked at that, you're really giving yourself a disservice and you're making it more complicated than it needs to be. Watch that video, look at the example, mirror it, submit it, and I look forward to reading all of your work this week. As a reminder, as always, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, reach out to me. There's nothing that I believe we can't solve or correct. But if I don't hear anything, I know that you're all doing great, and I hope that is what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling is what's actually occurring. So have a blessed week. I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers, and I'll look forward to talking to you very shortly. Bye for now.